got the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California has won the big game. 5 seconds left in the game. You believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Vine, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Fry with Virginia Tech Football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
You're in the doghouse with Rick Watson on Big Dog Sports Talk, presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Join us in the Family Fencing Studios and chime in on the McClelland Chiropractic chat line. He's keeping cool with help from Little River Heating and Air, but this show is straight fire. And now, the big dog, Rick Watson.
Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday here in the program. If anyone has any problems going on in their relationships, let the doctor help you through it. This is called Feeding the Ducks. Good morning. Happy Thursday. I like that one. You like that one? Hey, good morning, Prometheus. That's not bad. This is part of the generic library of music you're allowed to play because you can't play copyrighted music on YouTube. It's pretty good, though. I like that. We'll have to remember Feeding the Ducks. It's pretty good. Hope everybody's doing well. Busy week for yours truly, everybody at Radford. It's our Hall of Fame week. A lot going on yesterday evening, then tomorrow night's the ceremony. Javonte Green, Mike Jones amongst the inductees tomorrow night. By far our biggest night in the athletic department. All right, I'll get rid of Feeding the Ducks. But that was good. I like that. Yes, Paul, we're getting into strawberries coming up. The Bill Belichick thing gets even weirder. Bizarre things coming out yesterday. It's wow. All right, Morris, I have to do it. Here we go. I like the way Morris changes it up. Of course, if I was in the Palm Coast, I'd be happy too, just thinking about things. From the Floyd Fest fields of Czech to the Sam Snead Links of Bath County, and now the Crystal Blue, the Crystal Bill Fish Waters. Hang on. Let me start over. This is the guy who's going to be emceeing the Hall of Fame tomorrow. From the Floyd Fest fields of Czech to the Sam Snead Links of Bath County, and now the Crystal Blue Billfish Waters of Palm Coast. BDST is on the air. Good morning, Morris. Prometheus, you're talking about the one that David Teal did with Tech Sideline? Because David was down at the ACC Media Days, so we didn't get a chance to talk to him. But he kind of shared, I think, some of the same content last week. We'll have David on again this next week. He sent his apologies, but he was busy and he had to do that podcast. And he was down there already involved in media stuff. Okay. Yeah, it is. It's confounding what's going on in Blacksburg. And I've tried to sit back and I've tried to think, okay, am I just being overreactive? But no, I think, especially when I get feedback from lots of Tech fans and people who are donating and very important, prominent donors. Everybody's the same way. I don't see anyone straying and thinking that they're handling any of this the right way. If you read between the lines yesterday with Bill Roth, now look, if anybody respects the position Bill is in, it's me, because when you're the voice of a program, you are the representative of that department in terms of marketing, PR, whatever it might be. Sometimes your own department may not look at it that way, but you're pretty important. So I understand that in his case, it's tough to come on and talk about things that you may know is going on or you're not happy about because you can't promote that. But you could tell yesterday when he started talking about the committee, he just kind of smiled. He said, that's a lot of people, isn't it? And the fact that you even had to do that because the AD that you have failed with football, but yet now you're saying he's okay. He can just hang out over here on the side and still make his money. No fans have wanted that. I haven't heard one fan, and I would tell you if I did, haven't heard one fan that has chimed in on a professional door text line here on the McClelland Chiropractic chat room that has said that they like the fact that they've announced that he's staying and everything's going. And David Teal's frustrated. Everybody's looking just kind of side-eyed, you know, like. Yeah, we're going to jump right into the Bill Belichick thing too. Yeah, and I don't mean this funny at all. And this isn't knocking him or trying to make light of a situation. But do you think he's got something going on? Like, I wouldn't say Alzheimer's, but you think he's just got something going on that's not functioning properly? This is bizarre. The whole Bill Belichick last year with this girl and what came out yesterday. And of course, there was a counter statement that Brett McMurphy released about Bill Belichick. And we'll get into that. And I want to get your thoughts. If you think things are bad in Blacksburg, well, I don't know what in the world's going on in Chapel Hill. We want to thank Family Fencing, Jason Green, Family Fencing Studios here in Reiner. They were the first sponsor to jump on with us. That's always going to be a very, very special thing to me. And they do great work. And I know several of you have reached out. Keep reaching out. Survey your property. Feel like, you know, whatever you want to do, whether it's fencing for your animals, whether it's property lines, whether you just want to have a little area, backyard, you have young kids. Maybe you want to let your dog out, but you don't want him to run all over the place. You have a no-dig installation system, no mess, locally owned, finance options. Get your free quote, Family Fencing, 540-200-8294 or familyfencingnrv.com. And on top of that, they're just great people, as is Mark Hundley over at McClelland Chiropractic, right off Pepper's Ferry Road. I'm going to have to go see Mark, sponsor of our chat room. I'm going to have to go see Mark sooner than later because my the upper back started feeling weird. Oh, that's right. Old guy. Professional Door Incorporated text line 540-391-0788. Thanks to Travis Williams. 38 years in business. Garage doors better than anybody, right across from New River Community College. Route 100. It's a great, beautiful drive anyway. So go. Just go and be glad that you did. Go by and see Travis. He's a great guy to talk about your garage doors. He's also a great guy to talk about, you know, football, sports. Just go by and hang out with him. He's a great dude, man. Travis, those good people up there. Good people. I'm very proud that they are part of the program. Also, equally proud to have Pulaski County Sports Entertainment, the presenting sponsor of this program. They're building something very special here in southwestern Virginia, not just Pulaski County, but everywhere. They're going to have tournaments, concerts, all sorts of events. They're establishing itself as one of the premier destinations of sports entertainment throughout the East Coast. It's happening. It's happening. You have Calfee Park already. You've got the Speedway, Randolph Park, and this Pulaski County Sportsplex is going to be just awesome. Kudos to the wonderful work that Jonathan Sweet and his staff, Tim Miller, are doing. It's amazing. It's awesome. Little River Heating and Air, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg, also awesome. It's cold this morning, 43 degrees. Better go see him. The attorney, Ryan Price, 701 West Main Street in Radford, sponsoring our BDST fan question of the week. And no one has said Virginia Tech's going to cover the spread on Saturday yet. Of about the dozen messages we've gotten. Specializes in trust and estate planning. He's an Eagles fan. He'll be preoccupied tonight as his Eagles try to get back on the winning track after my beloved Broncos went in there and beat them. Sorry, Ryan. Just kidding. Not real. National Bank member FDIC, exclusive banking partner of the program. Been there with them for 35 years. I haven't left. And I'm a guy who gets pretty touchy when things don't go well. Go see Brad Harvey's Gym in Radford. Buy your new vehicle from them. I have bought my last 3 from there and have no regrets. Go. He'll set you up with the best value for your buck, and he'll go on these auctions and he'll look for exactly what you want, man. And they have a great service department. NRB Super Bowl, thanks to them, 25 years in business. 540-382-5525. Boogie Bowling I'm going to make a point to go to Boogie Bowling. I suck at bowling. They get Ronnie Horton on here, the pro there. Ronnie, if you're watching, you know what we should do? We should film Ronnie giving me lessons on how to bowl. I'm a pretty good straight ball roller, but I cannot get the cool little, I'm not good at that. Never have been able to do that. And I think it's because where I fault my wrists I don't know. Also, I want to thank James Lawson, located 300 North Franklin Street in Christiansburg, Lawson's Mobile Home Supply since 1997. Windows, doors, plumbing supplies, plus installation, 540-381-8011. Thank you so much for all of your support. I couldn't do the program without all of our wonderful sponsor supporters. This is not an inexpensive thing. So thank you. Thank you so much. All right, we'll get into this Bill Belichick thing. Everybody's wanting to talk about it. Oh, is that what he did? I didn't watch any of it. So Prometheus, before we get into Belichick here, saying that so he was defending Witt. Really? That's not the impression I got last week. Said fans didn't know enough to have an education. Wow, it's disappointing to hear. I'd have to talk to him about that. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that. I haven't seen it, so I can't speak of it. But I think the fans have plenty of ammunition to feel the way they do. He was allowed to make 2 football hires. He missed on both. And so, therefore, it has contributed largely to the fact that whenever you talk about expansion of the SEC and the Big Ten, you don't hear Virginia Tech's name remotely mentioned. Morris said, I need your advice, big dog. I received a VM yesterday from my Hokie rep. Wanted to catch up with me and discuss what game I may be at and talk about the 26th season. Should I take these calls now? I'll leave that up to you, Morris. Good morning, Rodney. Rodney, do you have, by the way, Rodney Sports Now, he keeps up, he does a great job with high school football. Do you have the standings, the current updated district standings? I need those. Can you send those to me? Because the VHSL site is still the worst thing in the history of civilization. I don't know what they're doing there, but it's not serving the community for Virginia high school sports. If you go to standings on the VHSL website, you have to type in the year. Yeah, in other words, you should be able just to come up and populate. Rodney, if you can help me out there, that'd be great. Thank you, Rodney. Send me that link again in text, will you? Send me that link again in text. Yeah, I'll have to watch that interview. I have not watched it. I think I would go with psychotherapy, Morris. I think that's what I would do. So I haven't watched it, so I can't comment on anything that people were saying was said. But I will say this: if there was some kind of premise there that fans don't have enough information, I would disagree with that wholeheartedly. As a matter of fact, that's the kind of thought process that really bugs me, because if that's the way Virginia Tech's approaching this, it's wrong. Fans are not stupid. Results speak for themselves. The end result of the actions you put in place, and in this case, the lack of success for the last 8 years for Virginia Tech football, is an open and closed case. BDST legal counsel Richie Davis would love to take that case because there's not anyone who can counter argue. So fans aren't stupid. And I don't like that kind of mode of thinking. What are fans exactly wrong about? What do they need to be more educated about? The results, right? You've got the records in front of you. You've got the money that's been spent. Bill Ross said it yesterday. Look at all the money they've tied into buyouts now with 2 coaches. Nothing right now in the world of college athletics represents failure any larger than the decisions that you're paying already, in many cases, way too much money for these individuals who make these decisions, to make decisions that cost you financially down the road. Look at the multiple millions of dollars now Tech has to invest in two coaches at the same time now that didn't work out on the football hiring side. What is there not to understand about that? And I'm not saying that's what was said in the podcast. We'll talk to Will Stewart about it tomorrow morning. But Georgia Tech, I go back to it, and we're going to see Virginia Tech play Georgia Tech Saturday afternoon. They did not leave the ambiguity there. They did not leave the possibility for ambiguity there. And the interim coach ended up getting the job. Now, at the same time, I'm not saying Phil Montgomery is going to be that guy, but when I brought up this premise before, people shot it down. Well, the interim coach turned out to be pretty good at Georgia Tech. Interim coaches have done pretty well. Dabo Swinney, but that's a topic for another day. They did not leave any ambiguity because they listened to their customer. Fans were very angry. The fans were pulling their donations. Wes Durham talked about it on the old radio show. He worked at Georgia Tech for years. He's the voice of the Yellow Jackets before he took the ACC network. He knows people within that athletic department, and he knows a lot of the big donors. He's made lifelong friendships. And they said, no more. We're done. Either you get rid of X and Y or we're done. And guess what Georgia Tech did? They got rid of X and Y without any regrets. Rebuilt the whole thing. Now they're top 3 in the league in donations. They're undefeated. They're number 13 in the country. Now, is that going to be something that lasts forever? I don't know. But right now it's paying off, isn't it? Literally and figuratively. Those fans were heard. Those donors who are also fans, just in a different tax category, they were heard. I don't feel like Tech fans who are also in that same similar tax category are being heard. You've raised tickets every year. You've made it more difficult for people to get tickets. And they've come out and they've supported a subpar product. Virginia Tech fans are not in any way, shape, or form responsible for any of this. If anything, it's more amazing that they haven't succeeded more because of the support they continue to get. The fact that Virginia Tech doesn't defend its home field has nothing to do with the fan support. And I had someone yesterday try to tell me that. Well, if the fans were so great, this is somebody who's very anti-Virginia Tech. If the fans are so great, why can't they win there? Because of the product on the field. The fans sit there and they watch. They lose home game after home game. It's hard to sit there and have that same enthusiasm. They already paid for their ticket. But however this is going to go, early on, it doesn't feel like it's running very smoothly. That's all. So I don't know. I'll try to watch it. I don't know if I'll be able to watch it today. I got so much going on. It's such an incredibly busy week. So, but I'll try to, and I'll get a synopsis tomorrow from Will too. And see what all they talked about. But thanks for the heads up, Prometheus. I appreciate that. All right, so there were a lot of people yesterday that were posting, or not a lot, there were 3 different media outlets saying that Bill Belichick has been negotiating to reduce his own buyout to $1 million so he could leave his head coaching position in Chapel Hill immediately. Bubba Cunningham, the AD, last night released this statement. Coach Belichick has the full support of the Department of Athletics and University. Boy, that was really heartfelt. And Bill Belichick said, I am fully committed to UNC football and the program that we are building here. I'm also committed to the aroma of strawberries. No more questions. Thank you. So these reports came out that he was looking to get out of his contract, and he wanted to get back into broadcasting. He's not that great on TV to begin with. But all I know is when you see joint statements usually, this isn't always the case, but you know it. When you see joint statements from the AD and the coach about recommitting, that usually means things aren't good. But that was a very generic statement by Bubba Cunningham, who's one of the good guys in college athletics. You talk to any people who know Bubba Cunningham, North Carolina. Rodney, you're a Carolina guy. He's a good dude. I think Bubba Cunningham's a good dude. I met him I'll see him again this year because Radford plays down at Chapel Hill. So we'll see what happens with all this in Belichick, but it just gets more and more and more confounding, this whole experiment, doesn't it? Morris says, I have advice for Belichick. Don't sleep with your granddaughter. And that whole thing is bizarre. No, that's not an attaboy for a 73-year-old to be dating a 23-year-old. People try to spin it that way. Hey, what would you do? I wouldn't do that. I don't know what I'd do, but I wouldn't do that. 50-year difference, no, that's not normal. And now this, you talk about a guy that's going out, and his legacy is already kind of mixed up because of the improprieties that went on in New England, the 6 Super Bowls, the obvious greatness of that program, at least from his quarterback. He's like 30 games under 500 as a coach without Tom Brady. He looks completely lost out there right now at the collegiate game. He can't find his quarterback. They've looked very uncompetitive. They're losing their Power 5 games by an average of 25 points. So there's a lot of things going on there that are very, very strange. Thank you, Rodney. I just got your message on the text line. I'll check that out. Appreciate you. So it's a tough situation, but they brought it on themselves. And again, this is not really revisionist history. I think when all this came about with Belichick and all the rumors started, we were kind of like, is this real? And then we started thinking, how's this going to work? Sounds like a guy who's just got the itch going again. And is that the guy you want to get going on this? Andy Bitter, by the way, joins us, and we can get involved today with that conversation that they had in Tech Sideline. So Andy joins us here. I forgot to preview our guests, and then Dwight Vick. We've had such a great guest week, man. Unbelievable. Thank you. You get anonymous things on the text line. Someone just sent me this. Can y'all see that? It's Bill Belichick wearing a big dog sign around his neck, holding a big basket of strawberries. Y'all got that? That might be the greatest thing I've ever seen. We'll have to save that. That's going to become part of the show. Can I save that? Save that? Oh, that's good stuff. Thank you. That's funny. Yeah, I don't know. It is it's an odd time. It's an odd time here in Blacksburg too. The way they immediately shifted from everything we talked about here on the show, and why it took them so long, I don't know. this whole insistence that the GM was going to come first, you sit back and you go, what? And I just know from my own experience with our latest basketball hire, Zach Chu, part of the whole thing was he wanted to bring in his own general manager. If I take the Radford job, I'd like to bring him. Is that something that the school would allow? Yes, sure, of course. That's your guy. Radford understood that immediately. They seemed to want to be forcing this the other way, and it's like they didn't understand the kind of friction that would immediately cause, whether there was any kind of animosity toward the head coach or not. But immediately you're creating a lot of, okay, I hope I can get along with this guy. And they finally said, got enough feedback from these agents. You heard it yesterday. Well, Tuesday too, with Mike and Bill, everything we talked about on the show for weeks, everything. Oh, you mean, what was the quote I gave you from my source? Any coach with options is not going to come in and look at Blacksburg as a realistic destination if they already have a GM there that they don't know. And what did they say? We're going to let the head coach hire the GM in that statement last Friday. Oh, really? Boy, that sounds like a good idea. Where have I heard that before? And we have this committee that everyone has said the same thing about that has come on this show. They're just kind of like, it's a lot of people. That's a whole lot of people. And a lot of people have nothing to do with sports. Roddy says, Rick, I think that's part of the problem in Chapel Hill. Bill's having his strawberries held by a 24-year-old. Hey-o! Yeah, that might single be the greatest picture I've ever seen in my life. Thank you for that, by the way. So we'll talk to Andy about what went on yesterday. There you go. He was in that podcast, right? Over on Tech Sideline. They do a great job. So we'll find out. We'll get the skinny on it. Haven't been able to watch. So, yesterday I gave you the information that I got, and it was interesting the way things developed throughout the rest of the day. I told you that one of the sources that I use came back to me and told me that Ryan Silverfield is going to be one of the guys that the committee is going to talk to. Because all these agents, as Bill said yesterday, I've been telling you, all these agents, the coaches, there's like a handful of agents for every one of these coaches, and they all communicate and they all talk to each other. And this coach, his agent is very close to the agent for Silverfield and many other candidates. And I just told you what was reported. It was amazing the immediate kickback people had on it. So see, I get the identification of the same school. I understand that because the whole Memphis thing was something that did not work. And I get that. But I don't know if you could condemn a guy. He's at least worth the conversation. Don't you believe? All right, I gotta let Balboa Creed in because it's cold and he's been out. So here's Selma to keep you company until I get back. Just I don't think that's going to bother you right there. Let me hang on. All right. Thank you. There you go. I think you'd mind that. Nice little place filler. Nice little place filler right there. But in any event, I'm just going to reiterate, it's just one name. It doesn't mean they're going to hone in on him. But don't you think that they should broaden the net as wide as they can? Do you think Bruce Arians understands that? why would you limit a candidate just because he happened to be at the same school as the guy who failed earlier? It's not the same coaching staff. It's not the same type of offense. It's not the same type of philosophy. It's not the same type of personality. It's none of it's the same other than the fact that it's the same school in the same conference. But I would not, if I'm Virginia Tech, I would not want to turn away anybody who had the kind of credentials that he does. I mean, his record, we went through that. He's been very successful. Watch his teams play. He's a younger guy. He's, 44, 45? He was in the state at Hampton-Sydney. He knows all about the whole Tech footprint. He knows everything about that. Just watch his teams play. Again, let your eyeballs tell you what's going on. Like fans can see what's been going on in Blacksburg, so they're pretty educated, despite what people want to try to say. And I'm never going to subscribe to that thinking. Sorry, I'm a fan too. I'm not saying we can sit there and out-coach. There are elements to coaching that we'll never understand. Like when we sit down and we have Marty Smith and Steve Ragsdale on, and Marty asked him about one formation change, why the number changed or why the terminology changed, and Coach Rags goes on for 25 minutes about all the different aspects of one play in the single wing. I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm going, you think you know, but you don't know until you talk to a guy like that, until you talk to a guy like Phil Omasian. Then you start to see the game how they see the game. So we're never going to know what they know and what goes into it, and all the hours of study and all the books they've read and all the different blocking angles and why you're trying to do this right off the hip of the end and why the pitch has all these things that Rags was identifying. And that's why Marty's sitting there with me like, this guy, he's a genius. So I'm not saying fans know more about football than coaches. I'll never say that. I don't know. But we do have observations on results, right? We can tell you what is working, what's not working. That's why there are statistics. That's why there are won-loss records. That's why there's a big, bright board in every stadium, in every athletic competition. It's called a scoreboard. We keep score. So there's a difference. And I think fans, they try to lump fans into one category. Will fans ever know as much as some of these coaches? No, but there's some bad coaches out there. There are. Okay, so Andy wasn't in that. Okay, well, I'm sure you heard about it. So we'll get a synopsis from Andy coming up at 7. Liberty got a win last night. Boy, they've been struggling. What were they, 1-4? If I can remember right. So that's their second win. Beat UTEP. Wednesday games. Yeah, and that's part of it. My column this week in The Patriot is going to talk about how, and I've mentioned this on the show, how college football is thriving. Right? But one of the side effects of the dominance of the power schools is schools and conferences that Liberty's in, they have to play on Wednesday. You don't get the Thursday night bump anymore because they already have other games on, and you have the NFL game, like tonight. Giants and Eagles will destroy whatever college football game is the highlight game on ESPN. Jimmy says Memphis is undefeated right now. I'm not surprised that he would be a candidate. And we don't even know if he's a candidate. All right, let's clarify that. Having a conversation doesn't make you a candidate. What makes you a candidate is when you're invited to campus and you've thought enough of the interview process to bring them up here, and then you become a candidate. These aren't candidates just because you have mutual, okay, yeah, we'll talk to him. That doesn't mean you're a candidate. It just means that's worth a conversation. That guy's done enough to be worth a conversation. And that's all it is. David says being excluded because of the school is ridiculous. Agreed. Apples and oranges other than the school and the colors and the mascot. Ryan Silverfield is not Justin Fuente. But fans naturally are going to have that on their mind. They're naturally going to feel that way. They're going to have that whole mindset toward it. And I get that. I do. Professional Door text line is exploding this morning. Good stuff, as always. Yeah, Rodney Young says, I would love to have Silverfield or Summerall right now at Carolina. Imagine if they'd have made that hire. All right. Instead of chasing Bill Belichick. There you go. November 7th. Yeah. Now you have a reason to watch Memphis and Tulane. Yeah, watch them. Watch them play. I have not watched them this year. I need to do that now. Now I will. I'm going to make a point to find the Memphis game whenever it's on and watch them a little bit and watch him. But again, if it's just a mutual, okay, yeah, we'll talk to you here down the road here when we start getting our ducks in a row. That doesn't mean he's a candidate. It just means, yeah, you're the type of guy. If anything, I thought it was encouraging to hear that. Because that means they're not just focused on, you're not just falling in love with a name. You're looking at a guy's accomplishments and how he might fit. And a lot of the questions all these candidates are going to get is, here we are, NIL. You're going to have it now. Let's talk about how this is going to work with you and your choice of your GM and your evaluation. Because, see, that's what it's going to come down to for whatever coach gets here. How are they at portal evaluations? I said this on the show. We started back the second run of the radio show back during COVID. So somehow we thought that was a good idea. And thank the Lord for Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, because the two quarterbacks, Clemson and Ohio State, went and said, this is ridiculous. Let us play college football. And then college football came back, and the rest is history. Those two guys should be more than just a footnote. Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields saved college football at that moment. But anyway, I'm getting off tangent here. When you go back to the evaluation of players, and you go back to when the second hire in the Whit Babcock era was made, none of this was probably being thought about like it is now. Not probably, it's not. And I said then that you're going to stop worrying about high school recruiting in a couple of years. And people push back. Oh, you're ridiculous. That's the backbone of it. No, it's not. And everything's evolved exactly how I said it was going to evolve. Yeah, I'm giving myself an attaboy. If I don't, who the hell will? And I said, you can fall in love with recruiting class rankings and you can still focus on that, but you're barking up the wrong tree. It's going to be about how you evaluate the portal now, that this is the thing. Tech did not evaluate the portal correctly under Brent Pry. So the new coach is going to have to come in. It's going to be 30 to 40 guys every year, and none of them are going to be high school players. Do you need a high school kid or two? Sure. There's no guarantee they're going to be there more than 1 year. If they are good, they might go somewhere else. That's why you need to find guys now. You're recruiting. The basis of any successful program's recruiting is going to be the portal every year. It's no longer high school football. It's not. You can supplement it, but the battle going on for the top high school football talent is just huge now. It's not just a coup with 4 or 5 programs having the edge over everybody else anymore, like it used to be. It's not just Alabama, not just Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State. It's not just Notre Dame. It's not just those schools anymore, because the money is what is talking and moving these players, not the schools in many cases, and not even the coaches in many cases. Right? And if you're going to spend money, if you have NIL money, Are you going to spend a lot of it on a high school kid? Or are you going to spend more of it on a kid who may have 2 years of eligibility left that's proven he can play at the collegiate level? So whoever they get, that has to be a conversation, right? It has to be. So I did. You're right. You're right, Hoagie Bob. I got a little cotangent there. It happens sometimes. Fuente was hired during a Memphis losing streak. Was he? I don't remember. Was he really? Well, they don't have one now. They're 6-0. Yeah, he is. He's 1-4 against ranked teams, but he's also at Memphis. I mean, where they don't have nearly the resources that he would have at a Power 4 like Tech. Hey, his one win against Power 4 is more than Brent Pry had. We're the same. Belichick tries to look annoyed all the time. People think you're busy, like George Costanza. That's a great episode, too. Yeah, it's hard to put an unproven kid in the lineup now. It is. Because of all the money you're spending on portal guys, you're going to play them. But you're going to bring in 30 to 40 every year, and you better pick those guys right. And it's not just how, pure talent. It's got to be, how do they fit in with what we're doing? Donnie Lynn said it yesterday. We got more reaction yesterday from Donnie Lynn on the basketball side. Do you think they have a large NIL budget at Mount St. Mary's basketball? You think he's just got wagons full of cash that he can go and offer kids? No. What did he say? Best freshmen in the area are coming into the league because we could never even think about recruiting. They called. Remember that? They called. He didn't have any. He said he deserves what he got from whatever school. I don't know what school got the kid. But he said, look, we're not going to waste your time. We know what it's going to take to get you here. We don't have that. And he handled it the right way because he's got a lot of self-awareness. People with self-awareness can survive as coaches in the current era of college football and basketball. It doesn't mean you're wrong because all of a sudden high school football doesn't become, or high school recruiting doesn't become the biggest thing on your radar. You better hit the portal and you better hit it hard and correctly, especially at the quarterback position. Virginia Tech did not succeed. You think about the two positions you have to have on any football team, especially the collegiate level, to be successful: quarterback and offensive line. And Tech missed both the entire Brent Pry era out of the portal. So if you're Ryan Silverfield, the one thing I heard was this. Phil Mason knows him a little bit. Said that's a guy who's going to bring players. So I'm just telling you, these are people that are a lot smarter than I am, that know a hell of a lot more than I do. And that's why I shared that information with you yesterday. It's people that know what's going on. I don't know what's going on until I'm told this is going on behind the scenes. You're right, Rodney. It is. Now you bring a freshman in. If you're going to spend money on him, he has to play immediately. There's no more developing him like, Dwight Vick. We're going to talk about with Dwight Vick coming up. I've been wanting to talk about this with him. He's got a son who's going through the whole recruiting thing, and so he's right there on the cusp of all this. And Dwight is the quintessential source for this type of information. So I'm looking forward to that. So we're going to infer everything we're talking about today with Andy and Dwight, try to enhance it. That's entertainment. But if you're going to have a freshman, these 5-star kids are getting millions of dollars. They're asking for millions of dollars. I don't know what they end up signing for. There's lots of rumors about different guys. What was the Florida quarterback that caused all the turmoil a few years ago? $7 million or something. Are you going to pay that kind of money for an 18-year-old who kind of has a completely inflated self-worth? Or are you going to go and take a kid who is very successful? Let's just say, I don't know, at a program like James Madison, Memphis. Might be a little step down, but he is a really good quarterback. He's played 2 years in college, 3 years, and he started. He has 2 years of eligibility. Who are you going to spend your money on? I mean, it's a personal decision you're going to have to make. Maybe he doesn't have as much, natural talent as the high school kid when he came out, but he's developed it over that time. He's been coached. He's been in charge of a huddle, right? It's free agency. The teams in the NFL who succeed aren't the ones usually who spend the most in free agency. They highlight that every year. There's a lot of good NFL sites that will go through who spent what, how many players they brought in. It's not about the amount. It's about the quality. It's not the quantity. It's the quality. And the teams that usually don't go nuts in free agency have much better rosters and end up in the playoffs. Now, they have the draft, which is different than obviously than college. But really, in a way, the whole portal is kind of a way you can look at programs refilling their rosters through a draft, even though you're paying. But having the most money, nobody has more money than Texas, Texas A&M, Arkansas. Did they spend it the right way? No. Texas just got embarrassed by Florida. They looked bad against Florida. Texas hasn't looked great all year, to be honest with you. Arch Manning, I don't know what his deal is, right? Because of his last name. Do you think Arch Manning's a guy who deserves all? No, he got where he is because of his name. Got his opportunity because of who he is. Yeah, that's it, Hokey Bob. Kids today follow the advice of Milburn Drysdale of the Commerce Bank of Beverly Hills. Go with the money. And that's all it's about. Trust me. These kids don't even enter into a conversation with the school unless they can try to meet their financial requirements. That's what's been created by the failure of the NCAA. More people who were making tons of money who never made good decisions because they had their own self-interest ahead of the good of, well, the universities, the students, the coaches, collegiate athletics, whatever it may be, the fans. Whoever it may be. Who's that, Rodney? Who was a three-star quarterback? Which one are we talking about? Let me go back in chat and see. Let me know, Rodney. Was that the kid from Florida? Was he really? Is that the who you're talking about? Was he a three-star? Hit us up on the McClelland Chiropractic chat room. It's buzzing again this morning, as is our professional door text line. Andy Bitter at 7 o'clock. Rodney, let me know. So the way I look at all this is this. It's not to say that you can't have successful high school kids come in, and you can find kids. There's going to be anomalies, right? There's going to be outliers everywhere. Like this isn't an encompassing thing. This isn't a all-encompassing thing, I should say. This isn't rules that are always going to be true. They're going to be freshmen who say, look, I want to go to Virginia Tech. I'm going to take the time to develop. You're going to have a few here and there. Not many. Not now. Joseph says high school kids may have come to an AC school for no money until they become a starter. Then they're going to want money. And the money has to come, right, to stay. So anyway, this long way around brings me back to whomever Virginia Tech's going to vet, and this is part of a vetting process to see if they actually could become viable candidates. This is not saying any of these people are candidates. The conversation has to be had. Okay, let's talk about how you've done what you've done at your place. And it's going to be a head coach. It's not going to be an assistant. I can tell you that right now. Virginia Tech will not hire an assistant coach for this job. It's going to be a head coach somewhere. How have you gone about this? Take us through how you go about the evaluation of the portal. What do you look for? Let's hear that philosophy. How do you think that's going to succeed here in Blacksburg in the ACC? And then later on in the Big 12. Let's talk about those things. Those are the kind of questions Bruce Arians going to be really good at. Bud Foster, who was a keen talent evaluator. Best part of the committee is having those two guys on it. Bud Foster would find gyms, have to go to Coach Beamer and Coach Kavanaugh and say, no, wait a minute now. Coach Cav and Bud, you talk about having an eye for guys. So he understands it as well as anybody. And he didn't have the NIL era. Oh, did you catch I slipped that in, Jimmy? About the Big 12? That's where they're going to end up. Matthew says, Dwight Vick always talks about legacy, and 99% of college kids are thinking short term. Yeah, that's a great point. They are. It's just whatever's in front of them because the money's there. They've never had it, right? Not to this level anyway. Oh, my goodness, we can do this now. So I'm going to get my bag. And then that's where the evaluation comes in. Are they going to get their bag and still be committed and do their thing? Or are they not? Do they come in and get their bag and don't perform? Mike Burnup's hinted at that a lot, hasn't he? Actually, he didn't hint at it. He just came right out and said it. I'm letting Andy know that I sent him the link. So, yeah, and that's up to the coach, too. You're exactly right. So, the other Rodney was talking about Rodney Landreth, my former quarterback, Pulaski County High School. Matter of fact, Rodney and I knew each other very well because I centered and he was the quarterback. So, Rodney and I got very close. And having money is not a guarantee of anything. If that were the case, then there would be more SEC schools each and every year getting involved in the national picture. Right? Rodney says too close. Miss you around, Rodney. I tell you what, we're just a great dude. Go through high school with you, great player and a great coach. I hope you're coaching kids because you're the type of guy that they need, especially today. Go through the SEC. Let's go through it right now. Let's go through it. Let's go through the SEC. By the way, none of these schools want for money. None of them. Vanderbilt, whomever you're talking about, none of them have any financial issues. Missouri has started to spend money. They've got a big showdown with Alabama. How will they perform? How have they performed since they got to the SEC? Ole Miss has started spending a lot of money since Lane Kiffin got there, but he's also the right coach. Oklahoma and Texas, neither one have found their footing yet. Now, Oklahoma is number 6 in the country. Are they finally What is this, year 3 for both? Arkansas has spent gobs of money on players and coaches. Tennessee has an unlimited budget. They'll be ranked in the top 10, 15, but they're not part of the playoff. Florida. There may be 2 or 3 departments in the entire nation that have more money, more resources than Florida. Morris, you know I'm right. Texas A&M. Pound for pound, along with Texas, the richest athletic department in the nation. Yeah, they're 5-0 right now. Where have they been? I don't know what you're talking about, Rick. Auburn. You think they don't have money? South Carolina. All these schools, yeah, they're good. I'm just talking about what has it got them in the national playoff. So money doesn't always mean success. It's how you spend it and how you evaluate. And that's the key to the whole thing. Red River rivalry now. Changed it from the Red River Shootout. That's cut down on violent crime by 92% since they changed the name of it. Just like in Washington when they got rid of the Bullets to the Wizards, which is just terrible. Washington's changed their sports teams twice, and they've both been horrible. Commanders and Wizards. Yes, Texas has by far, it's not even really close. They have more money than any athletic department in the country, any school, to be honest. Yeah, you're 100% right. Where have they been in the national picture since Vince Young beat USC in the Rose Bowl? Where have they been? Right? Where have they been? This year, they were preseason number 1. They've looked anything but a number 1 team. You think Steve Sarkisian, you think how much pressure you think's on him Saturday against Oklahoma? Yeah, matter of fact, all those Texas schools have a little bit of oil money. You're exactly right, Brandon. Didn't Cyndi Lauper have a song, Money Changes Everything? Wow, someone is referencing a Cyndi Lauper song. I bet she did, Paul. She did. Wow, Cyndi Lauper song showing up in chat. That's awesome. It's great. Got to have the Jimmies and Joes. There's no doubt about it. Well, I am proud to say we have lots of Jimmies and Joes here that come on the program. Dwight Vick a little bit later on. Here's one of the quintessential Jimmies and Joes. He is Andy Bitter from Sideline, the lead football writer. What's up, brother? Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. People fired up this morning. Well, first of all, let's go back to Saturday. I was working all day Saturday at Radford. We had 2 games, and I was keeping up with you and just watching the game through you. And did that – I won't say surprise you because they haven't won at home and they've always had these letdowns. But what were your thoughts as you watched that game unfold and some of the big mistakes they kept making?
Yeah, they couldn't get out of their own way, it felt like. A couple times – you're off the field on 3rd down, and then there's a 15-yard penalty to extend the drive. A defensive alignment penalty on a field goal that they ended up missing. Yeah, the interception at the beginning, it felt like that was just got off to a bad start. Like, oh, here's this. It was a weird interception, like came out really low and just like into the guy's hands. So they just didn't have that same sharpness that they had the previous 2 weeks. They stuck in the game and they kept coming back, but they got the interception down at the 4-yard line. They couldn't punch it in. They get a stupid penalty down there at the goal line, so they can't go for it on 4th down. I feel like they kind of typified the night. Like, they were all right, but they just made critical mistakes at crucial times, and you can't do that against anybody. I mean, Wake Forest is a feisty team. I mean, they should have beaten Georgia Tech. They got the win this week. I think they're better than a lot of people, myself, gave them credit for going into this game. That said, that's a game the Hokies should have won. I feel like they gave it away, and that's what they're going to kick themselves about.
Yeah, they brought in coach and some other staff from Washington State. People were like, who? He seems like a pretty good fit. I like the way they play and their mindset. Watching the last 2 weeks, I think that's going to be a nice hire long term for them. I really do.
Wake Forest makes good hires. I mean, think about
They
their last
do.
three: Jim Grobe, Dave Clawson, Jake
Jim
Vickers.
Grobe. Wow. Yeah.
I mean, those are three guys that Grobe and Clawson were there for a long time. Those two, they had a lot of, continuity with that program, a lot of vision for that program. It looks like, early returns, but it looks like Dickert is a good coach and knows what he's doing. So I didn't really have any connections to the area or to Wake Forest. So you go,
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of an interesting hire, but maybe that's a template for Virginia Tech. It's like you can step outside of your comfort zone and hire somebody. Just make sure they're a good coach.
100%. 100%. Well, along those lines, it's now an absolute. It's not even divided. I've never seen this much pushback the way things are happening in Blacksburg than what we get here and what I hear from people. What are you getting? What are you hearing? People are still. Committee, at least they finally switched that around and got it right. The GM, the whole thing that they're not going to hire that first, but it's the whole Whip Babcock thing. It's just got people sideways, man. What are your thoughts about it? What are you hearing now?
Yeah, I think Virginia Tech would do itself some favors by offering some clarity about this whole thing. It's an odd enough situation that you're not letting your athletic director hire the football coach. Doesn't sound like he'll have anything to do with football anyway. And if that's the case, is he really your athletic director in that case?
Exactly.
Like you're sort of defanging the top of your athletic department here. And what's this reporting structure going to look like once a new coach comes in? And if Witt is still part of it, how is he part of it and for how long? It's just nobody's offered any answers to this whole thing. And they've actually, the power brokers over there have not talked about this at all. I'm not saying they have to come out and tell us every single thing they're doing, but you just approved $230 million in funding for this. I think some people would like to hear how you're going to use it, how you're going to structure this and fix things. And the only messenger that they've sent out there so far is Witt. And that's on Bill Roth's podcast. Hasn't answered any questions from the media. It was supposed to, and then got pushed back a week here. You're sending out a guy whose role is not clear in the athletic department going forward, who, let's face it, not their greatest messenger. No. I think even Witt would say that. It's just not his forte, is going out there and talking to the masses about stuff like this. And, let's face it again, not a great Q rating among the fans.
Right.
I mean, that is a toxic name right now, whether that's fair or not. And there's certainly reasons to be upset about this. I think some people take it a bit too far for all of the athletic department struggles, but if he's the guy sending the message, I think it's not getting received by a lot of people because they're just not going to look past the name that is sending that message. So I think Virginia Tech could just be well served by having a better messaging plan over there. And here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's the structure of this new front office that we're putting forth. And maybe they haven't figured it out yet. And that's part of the reason why they haven't put anything out. But a little bit of transparency on this, I think, would help them.
No doubt. And and I hear from a lot of the big donors, when they're frustrated because they don't know anything, like just what you're saying, you're not expressing yourself properly.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I don't know what's going on or other people don't go.
Right.
But when you're writing checks to the program, then you've reached a problem. I mean, if you're going to ask for $30 million more in philanthropy to achieve these financial goals that you have, you're going to have to bring some people in on that and make them feel like they're part of the process, whether they are or not. If you just talk to them a little bit, that'll at least make them feel like they're part of the process. So that's a heavy lift that they're doing from the donation side of things on top of what they're already asking for the Hokie Club. And it's going to be tough to sustain, I think, over the length of 4 years like that, because that's, going back to your donors over and over and over. It's fraught. All sorts of problems with that whole thing. So, I think they could help themselves a little by just being a little more open.
Andy Bitter joining us here on BDST, the lead football writer for Tech Sideline. David Teal was on your podcast yesterday. I misspoke earlier. I thought you weren't on it though yesterday, were you?
No, they were down in Charlotte for the basketball thing.
For basketball. What kind of things came out of that? And I know he's been a little frustrated, just what you're saying too. Nobody has it. It's so buttoned up. They can't get any kind of feel for what might be going on.
Yeah. And I think on top of that, it's, this committee is huge, right? 8 people.
Gigantic.
Were all those names needed on there?
No.
I don't know about that.
No.
I have my doubts about a committee doing something anyway. I like that line. What is it? What is a camel? It's a horse drawn by a committee. It's sort of everybody has their own ideas of how stuff's going to go, and they're pulling in their own direction. And then what is the final product? It's sort of like, what was this thing that came out of this?
Yeah, that's good.
So they've got an 8-person committee. Where's the power lie in that whole thing? Were all those people necessary to be on there, or something just like you've given some money to the program? Be on this committee here that we're choosing this. On top of that, the committee then refers the top candidates to another committee, which includes the present director and Whit Babcock, who they said wasn't really involved, but he's on the hiring authority committee. So, and then there's going to be a committee beyond everything that's oversight on the. I mean, they love them some committees there. I feel like at a certain point, you just sort of need a vision for the program. You need to put your trust in one person. That's typically the athletic director. And again, that goes back to the original problems. Like, what are they doing with Whit Babcock? Is he going to be the guy going forward? And if not, why is he still there? If he were going to move in a different direction, it felt like maybe that would have made sense to do when you got rid of Pry. And when at the time they did, they could have gotten an athletic director in. It would have been tight. They would have had to hustle to do it,
Right.
But they could have gotten AD in. They could have had this search committee already looking at people, and then the AD comes in and makes the final hire, and then the coach comes in and hires a GM that he could work with. And that's how you would structure this whole thing if you were doing it, and that's not how they've done it. So I think having the uncertainty at the athletic director spot, it's got to affect everything else, because that is, it's supposed to be the head of your athletic department, and right now it just feels like it's a name only.
Well, let me ask you a very unfair question, because we don't know. What do you think's going to happen? Are they going to? Do you think they'll eventually just hire an AD for football? I mean, who's the coach going to answer to? Because if they need an AD in the future, what kind of candidate pool are you going to get if they come in and go, "Oh, wait a minute, I don't get to do football"? What do you think's going to happen there with that whole thing, with the structure?
I think there will still be an AD overseeing the whole thing. I don't know if that will be Whit long term. I think through this hiring cycle here, I mean, they've kind of committed to it at this point. I think you're a little late to now be like, okay, we'll replace the athletic director. Because how could you do that? How can you do that while you're trying to find a football coach and he's supposedly one of the people signing off on this hire at the end? That said, it's kind of weird that you would do that after you hire a football coach. It's like the football coach would come in to work for an AD, but then you're like, well, we're getting rid of this AD and bringing in a different one. And then the AD is like, well, I don't know if I want this football coach. So it's just, the whole order has been messed up. I think in the future, the structure will still look like, head coach and GM kind of work in tandem.
Right.
I think the head coach will hire the GM, and therefore you can tell where the power structure lies in that thing. They point out Lane Kiffin. They're like, there's a 50-50 power share between the GM and the head coach at Ole Miss. It's like, I don't think that's the case. I think Lane Kiffin is the guy there.
Exactly.
And I don't think there's any mistake about that if you're down there, but they have to report to somebody. Are they going to report to a committee? No, they're going to report to an athletic director above them, and the athletic director will be, responsible to the committee beyond that. That's what I imagine the structure would be. But again, I'm guessing because nobody's come out and said what that's going to be.
Exactly. I knew it was unfair, but I just wanted to get I think you're right. I think that's the way it ultimately has to go. And this committee should just be, it should be Bruce, it should be Bud, and it should be Eddie. That's all they need. They don't need 8.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing to have some money people on there.
Sure.
Or some people with a business background that, they've obviously hired candidates before for, not football coaches, but in business positions, and they can hear your leadership qualities and might have a different perspective. Do you need 3 of them? That seems like too many to me. I mean, 2 of them are board members that are on there. They put together the money plan. So that makes sense a little bit, but somebody's going to have to steer that committee, and somebody's going to have to be in charge of that whole thing. And I really don't know who it is right now.
Well, looking at the game, Georgia Tech's coming off a bye week. Wake Forest beat them. You said it last week. I'm sorry, they did. That call should have been made. But what do you think about Georgia Tech? If you've looked at them, I love Haynes King. I love the way Brent Key coaches. But to the point, these are the kind of games Mike Burnham talked about it, that, Tech sometimes circles the wagons. They play well in Atlanta. Do you see any of that? Do you see anything possible that's going to repeat how they played at NC State a couple weeks ago on Saturday?
Well, first of all, Georgia Tech is my dynasty team in this Tech Sideline.
That's right.
NCAA game that I've been doing. So I'm very familiar with the Yellow Jackets.
You know all about the Jackets.
My whole offense is just like, run it again, Haynes. Like his whole body is just like completely red on the thing.
Yeah.
Like, get out there and run. I'm like Herb Brooks and Miracle. I'm like, again. So yeah, they got certainly an interesting quarterback that's fun to play with on the video game.
He's great.
I would expect good effort. I mean, Virginia Tech has had good effort every week under Monty, right? I mean, since you haven't seen the, let's lay down for 2 straight halves and get outscored 65-0 like you did against Vanderbilt and Old Dominion. I mean, there's been effort. They've made mistakes, but the effort has been there throughout. And even at the end of Wake Forest, they couldn't pull it out in that game, but, they fought to the end of that thing. And I think that's, commendable for the situation that they're in. So I would expect them to play to the end in this one.
Yeah.
I just think it's a bad matchup. I mean, they got some really young linebackers that I think are going to play a lot of snaps in this game. And this is a tough offense to defend when they're going in different directions, and you have to account for the quarterback on every single run. It's not an easy offense to defend. I think they might have some trouble with that. That said, Georgia Tech really gets up for all the ranked ACC teams.
That's right.
And not so much for the ones that aren't. And they're coming off an open week. They had their, sort of wake up call against Wake Forest. So maybe they come out in this one and they're rested and they're focused and they got that out of the way. I think maybe Virginia Tech would feel better about this if they had just gone, the Yellow Jackets had gone to Wake Forest, just blown out the Deacons. Maybe they got a little bit of that wake up call, but I think it might be close. The 14-point line seems high. I think it's even maybe gone up since then. I haven't looked at it lately, but I think Virginia Tech can keep it closer than that. They typically play pretty well in Atlanta. And again, I don't think this is a team that's quit on the season yet. I mean, let's see if the losses start mounting and piling up, how things go there. But I feel like they're still playing hard.
I agree. I think 14 and a half, maybe up to 15 now. I don't think it's going to be that high either. Tech fan doesn't want to talk about them, but there's not a lot of better stories than what UVA is doing this year. I mean, where they were a few years ago with just the senseless, horrible tragedy in that program, and what Tony Elliott's make or break year, he had the same situation as Brent Pryde. Had to be this year. Didn't happen at Tech. Seems to be happening for Tony Elliott. That's a good football team, Andy. That's a good team.
It is, and they really stole one last week at Louisville. I only really saw the overtime session, so it's like, UVA got a stop, then ran right through them and scored a touchdown. They were lucky to get to overtime in that game. They
were.
I think they did not have 250 yards of offense in that game. They had 2 defensive touchdowns, one of the worst interceptions you'll ever see. I don't know what the Louisville quarterback was thinking throwing that pass. So you get 2 defensive touchdowns to get to overtime to win a game. You have to feel pretty fortunate. That said, good teams win those kind of games. They find a way to win when they're not at their best.
That's right.
So that's a resilient road win by a team that didn't have their A game, and they still went and beat a very good Louisville team. That's the mark of a good team. And more importantly, I think you look at the rest of the schedule and you go, there's not a game they can't win on the schedule. They should probably be favored in all of them. If not, I guess the Duke game is the one on the road.
Yeah.
Historically, they have played Duke very, very well. I think they've won 8 of 9 against the Blue Devils. So this sets up very well for them going forward. And, it's UVA and it's sort of new success. And you wonder how a team will handle that kind of success. And you get to that end of season game. And I think they'll be heavy favorites against Virginia Tech. But, you look at the uniforms and you just go, I have a history here. I have seen this before. Can they get over that hurdle against their in-state rival like that? They haven't been able to, even in seasons where it seems like they should. So, you take the uniforms out of that, you go, absolutely, this team will roll. You add the different logos on the helmets, and you go, I don't know, I've seen this movie before. So,
true.
How can they handle success here? Can they get by Duke? Can they get over that final hurdle with the Hokies at the end of the year, even at home, where historically the Hokies have played very well up in Charlottesville? We'll see, but they're in the mix. I mean, you think the top 4 teams in the ACC right now are the contenders: Miami, Georgia Tech, Duke, and Virginia.
Yeah.
I mean, Duke and Virginia 3-0 at the top of the ACC in football. What's going on? I mean, people that say this is a terrible conference, like, well, they may be right in some regard, but it's a fun conference. Duke and Virginia at the top of the league. Like, come on, this is fun. This is fun stuff.
Duke's good. I've watched they're good. They're coming on. They're starting to. Yeah, they're going to stay. I think Duke's going to hang around. He's done a nice job too. That's impressive.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how good their wins are.
Yeah,
they beat, what was it, Syracuse?
Syracuse. They looked really good, though.
Pretty bad since the quarterback went down.
Lost their quarterback.
Went out to Cal, and they beat up on Cal eventually. And it's like, well, Cal had a couple wins already. It's like, yeah, they went and beat BC, who got absolutely housed last week.
That was ugly.
So, yeah, it's tough to tell who exactly is
good
when they haven't played a lot of games. But I think Duke at least looks solid.
They do.
They're winning games. They're scoring a lot of points. It seems like that investment in the quarterback they made down there is a pretty good investment. And, that's all you can ask for a team.
Can we take the safety strap off of Miami now? I think they're legit.
I think so. I've admitted defeat on that preseason prediction. I'm like, I don't know if Carson Beck's really good. It's like, oh, he is. Yeah. They should be number 1 in the country.
They should be. Yeah.
Just based on resume. They have a better resume than anybody else. I mean, is Ohio State number 1, I think, right now?
Yeah, they are.
I get it. They won the national championship last year. They beat Texas at home. Texas ain't all that this year.
No.
I really don't know if they have another win out there that's as good as the ones Miami has. Oregon's up there too, beat Penn State. But then again, UCLA just beat Penn State. So who knows? That's still a good win on the road for Oregon. I think those are the top 3 teams right now, obviously. But Miami looks legit. I mean, that score in Florida State ended up being closer than it was. Yeah. That game was a blowout. It was over. So that's going to be a tough challenge when the Hurricanes come in here. I originally predicted it as a win before the season. I am not doing that at this moment. That is a flip-flop that you will see in the future for me. I will not be sticking with that prediction. But, I mean, this is the challenge with Miami, though. Is we've seen them get off to fast starts like this. Can they go through the whole season like that and keep it up? And they seem to have a quarterback that can do it. And I'll tip my cap to Mario Cristobal. He's coaching well too.
Yeah. Hey, it's just like Jerry and Babu. Babu, things are shaking. They're moving. I'm going to change that prediction around for when they come to Blacksburg.
Oh, yeah.
I'm with you. What else? Bill Belichick. This is bizarre what came out yesterday. I don't know if it's substantiated or not. And then, of course, they released a statement, Bubba Cunningham and then Belichick last night, that he's recommitted. The most bizarre thing that seems to be happening in college football is that whole thing going on in Chapel Hill. I don't understand it.
Yeah, totally normal statement to put out in the middle of October, right? Yeah, I tweeted my I'm fully committed to UNC football, and the program we're building here T-shirt has people asking a lot of questions already answered by my shirt.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you don't put that statement out in the middle of October and be like, I'm staying. The athletic director's like, we're committed to him. It's like, what are you doing? This isn't December. This isn't the coaching carousel. Something is clearly amiss down there. And, they felt the need to address whatever kind of rumblings or rumors. I didn't even keep up with it all yesterday. I was busy doing other stuff. But, Hokies fans can take solace in the fact that there's a bigger dumpster fire in the ACC right now than they've done this season.
That's a great point.
And, it's not like anybody's like, who would have known this was coming? I think everybody's like, what are they doing when they hired Bill Belichick? I didn't think it'd be like this. I thought he would be bad or mediocre. I didn't think he was going to elevate that program all of a sudden coming to college and having never recruited and, not understanding the college game. But he hired a bunch of hangers-on and sycophants and family members to be on his staff, and they're a disaster. The roster's horrible. I don't think there's any sort of buy-in from the staff down there. Certainly not from the players. And it's going to be a long rest of the season. And, for for you see a bunch of boosters go around their athletic director's back and make this hire, like they know what they're doing with this whole thing. They sort of get what they deserve in this whole situation. And I know the rest of the ACC is not exactly shedding any tears about UNC. And, one of these teams is like, we're so much better than the ACC, and the SEC wants us, and we're thinking about leaving and doing all this. It's like, yeah. Do they want this 2-10 team to come into their conference in football? I don't know about that.
No, and you're right. That wasn't a Bubba Cunningham decision. I think people kind of forget that. You're right. He kind of got – he got kind of pushed aside that whole thing and had no other – he had to acquiesce. He had to say, okay, all right, we'll do it then. We'll do it. And this is what we got. And this is what we got.
It's appointment viewing.
It is.
Let me rephrase that. It's appointment viewing for the first quarter.
Right.
And then it's like, all right, they're getting their butts kicked in this one. I don't need to continue watching this. So I don't know how that factors into the ratings component of the ACC thing. It's like, if people tune in for one quarter, does that like bump up your rating? How does that work?
Right.
They just want I turned on Clemson, North Carolina at the start of last week, and like first play of the game, Clemson runs a trick play for a 70-yard touchdown. I'm like, oh boy, this one's going to get out of hand here. And it's just Belichick, he's obviously a brilliant football mind, but his last couple of years in the NFL were terrible. There's a reason why nobody hired him in the NFL. He had some very weird things going on around him. This really young girlfriend is strange. It's a strange situation.
It's very strange.
And like, if you mention it, people are like, oh, don't get personal with this stuff. I'm like, I'm sorry. They're flaunting it everywhere. It's strange.
Absolutely.
And it's not something, he never wanted like celebrity players. It was always supposed to be about the game and everything.
That's right.
He's a celebrity coach. He's on the cover of US Weekly or whatever. I forget what cover he was on this week or recently. It's like he's gone against everything that he preached for the longest time. And I just don't think he has the people around him to tell him no on certain things or, really get this whole situation fixed.
Agreed. It's very strange. He's almost intentionally killing his own legacy, but we'll see.
His legacy will be fine long term. He's still the greatest NFL coach in history, but he will not go down as the greatest college coach in history. I think that ship has sailed already.
When are you heading to Hotlanta?
Tomorrow. Driving.
Are you
down.
Flying? You driving?
Driving. Solo drive. I'm the only one going. So
that's a good drive, though. That's not bad.
It could be
7
shorter.
hours.
It could be shorter.
It could be shorter.
I'd rather not deal with Charlotte and Atlantic traffic going down there, but
true.
I'll be able to catch up on some podcasts. It'll be fun.
There you go. Well, man, have a safe trip. Look forward to getting your reaction. As always, follow Andy all weekend. If you can't be at the game and watch it, like last weekend, I couldn't watch. So I'm just looking at Andy's tweets. And I know, okay. All right. So anyway, stay safe, man, and appreciate you as always.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. There you go. Great stuff from Andy Bitter. He is the lead writer for Tech Sideline. Good stuff. So, again, you have somebody there who knows stuff. Nobody's looking at the whole Tech situation as being one that makes a lot of sense right now. And it's what we've talked about. It's what you've talked about in chat. Matthew Mason put up a great message in our chat room. They're ignoring the 60,000 member committee that showed up at Lane Stadium last week. That's a great way to put it, Matthew. A great way to put it. Professional Door Incorporated is a great way to go get your garage doors done correctly. See how I did that? A little segue. 38 years in business, Travis Williams and Company. Keeping the business going that his dad created 38 years ago. Go see him right across from New River Community College. I want to thank Larry Ramsey, National Bank, member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner of BDST. Ryan Pry, the attorney down in Radford, 701 West Main Street. BDST fan question of the week. And, Andy says that Tech will cover the spread. Now, that's kind of the question this week. And we didn't have one person that thought they would coming into today. So we'll wrap that up and we'll see what it's like tomorrow. Also, Little River Heating and Air, Charles Lee and Company, 1095 Radford Street. Give them a call. It's cold. Make sure your heat units are good to go. Get it done early. Get them checked. You're going to like the cost and you're going to love the service. Those guys are great. I just talked about all the great things. Again, Pulaski County Sports Entertainment, the presenting sponsor of this program. Thanks to them. It was last Thursday, we had Jonathan Sweet on. And that was just terrific. Terrific. People still talking about that. Mark Hunley, McClelland Chiropractic Chat Line, and Family Fencing, our studio sponsor, 540-200-8294, familyfencingnrv.com. Go see Jason Green and all those folks there. I also want to thank Lawson's Mobile Home Supply. They've been around since 1997, 300 North Franklin Street in Christiansburg. Give James a call, 540-381-8011, and go bowl at the NRV Super Bowl. Go hang out. It's a great place, great environment. Halloween Boogie Bowl is going to be kicking in November 1st, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m., only $40 per lane, 382-5525. Reserve your lanes today and go buy your next vehicle at Harvey's GM in Radford. Brad Harvey, tell him you heard us talking about it. I will endorse that because I use them not only to find my vehicles, but to fix them and keep them running. They are the best in the biz, and they're just great people down there. Is that everybody? Did I get everybody? Always please subscribe, like, and share our channel content too. Dwight Vick's coming up in about half an hour. And we're going to talk to him about this. I'm going to go the different angle with the coaching and so forth and the evaluation of high school players because his son's been evaluated, right? He's going through that as a basketball recruit. And we'll get to your thoughts on all these things coming up. Steven says, I've waited so long for you to talk about Georgia Tech. Have good things. Yeah, finally you have to, right? They're undefeated, Steven. I agree with Andy, though. They're not – All right, so my two quarterback crushes are Diego Pavia, obviously, and Haynes King. They're really good. But what Andy said is true. They get up for the games that they're not supposed to win, especially in conference. And then games like this, they don't usually have the same type of vibe. I don't know if that's a Brent Key thing or just the vibe still they're trying to come out of. Wake Forest, Stephen, they had you beat. They beat you. Got a very, 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 very fortunate official's decision in that game. But Wake beat you. But you still won. You've had your bye week, and I'm sure he used that as motivation. It's probably not good for Tech that Georgia Tech, it's not good for Virginia Tech. This is the battle of the two Techs, so I got to be more specific. Probably not good for Virginia Tech that Georgia Tech got lucky in winning that game and then had their bye week. And you don't think Brent Key's probably been very, very, very vocal about all these things. You know he's been just absolutely clobbering them. So it's probably not a good timing for Tech. They're going to be Georgia Tech's going to be very well rested. They're going to be fired and wired. But I'm going to ask Dwight about Ryan Silverfield and see how he views it. Will he immediately say no more Memphis guys? I don't know. I don't think he will. I don't think he has that kind of mindset. But any event. By the way, Jen's going to be very mad. I still haven't sent the game picks to her. Ooh, I'm going to feel that ire tomorrow when we do our game picks. Yeah, my bad. Hit us up. Anything you want to talk about in the chat line or on our in our text line. But, Andy, just ask him directly about all these things. And what you're saying, by the way, every fan that's responded on this show, in any way you can communicate me, nobody has agreed with anything Virginia Tech's doing right now in terms of this whole – you agreed with the firing of Brent Pry. That had to happen. But they haven't followed through. Any action after that has not been bold. That was a bold thing. It's a bold thing to fire your head coach after 3 games. And a lot of times you'll have many, many people that support the program, longtime supporters and fans. As Matthew said earlier, there's 60,000 people included that will rally around the department and say, yeah, all right, these people are finally fed up. It's time to correct some mistakes. It's time to get Virginia Tech back on the map. Brent Pry, you're a great guy. It didn't work out here. Oh, wait. What about the athletic? He's staying? Oh, wait. He's the one going out, as Andy just said, and he's the one that's being the mouthpiece for the department that so many people have a lot of vitriol toward. All right, the vitriol toward him is not made up. It's not speculation. I'm living it here on the program through all of you, and from people that I know that are a lot closer to that program than I am. Nobody understands how it's going on, and it goes down to what Andy's saying. It's what Teal said a couple weeks ago. Why is it so buttoned up? Where's the information? The donors don't know the information. How? If you have levels of customers, right? Anybody who's spending money directly to help enhance what you're doing, that's a higher level of customer. Again, how do you ignore your customers in all this? The way this whole thing settles around this doesn't make any sense right now. Hokies Rock says, it's bold to say you're going to infuse $120 million and you don't know if you can get it. You know what? Right now, my confidence would be that they're not going to get it. Because I think people are going to respond this time. You know how we've always talked about how, professional leagues, school fans, we're the suckers because we always come back. Like the spouse that always takes the husband or wife who takes the cheating spouse back time and again. They're going to be different this time, right? Well, we always go back through strikes, through work stoppages, through bad coaching decisions, through whatever, hikes in merchandise tickets. We're the fans, all of us, and we're the suckers. We go back every time. I feel like this time that's not going to happen for Virginia Tech. I think I have enough information from people who donate a lot of money that tells me that it's going to change. So we'll see. We will see. But again, you're ignoring the customers. Why? Why is that so easy for places to do? Why are we not valued? And I say we because we're all fans here. Why does it not matter to us or for us? Why are we not? Frank Beamer created something that's never going to be replicated again. But he didn't just do that because of 1995 and the Sugar Bowl win. It's what came after with the support of the customers. That's when the whole thing started to go nuts with donations, with improvements in facilities. Jim Weaver had a vision. He came from Penn State. He knew how football programs were supposed to be built. He implemented that in the whole blueprint in Blacksburg, and it just kept going and going, and not just because of the team and the coaches, but because of the fans, because of the donors, the investors. Lane Stadium's expansion, the improvements, everything at the Merriman Center, all the things that they've had to do, and they're asking for even more now in this day and age when things are even more expensive, and yet you're not describing to anyone your thought process into why this whole thing is not changing the way that the customers want it to change. And I have not heard one of you that understand why you allow an AD who failed twice with the program. What did Andy just say? Are you really the AD if you aren't involved with football at a football school? I said that last week. Are you? If you're separated from the program that makes everything else tick at all these departments, Virginia Tech's no different. The football program supports everything else. And if you're not in charge of that and no one is answering to you and you don't have control over any of the hiring, how are you actually the AD of that department? Again, we have to ask these questions and we have to question our own minds because we're not getting any answers, just like AB said, just like David Teal said. We don't have any transparency. So how else are you supposed to conclude any of these things? Yeah, Jimmy, I don't think Brent Key is going to take the game lightly. And, sometimes good teams will have games like Wake Forest, like Georgia Tech did, and they get better. Same thing that Andy said about UVA. UVA's defense made plays, and they won that game against Louisville. The offense, which has been carrying that team, wasn't good. They still won it. That tells me they're a good team. The Georgia Tech, we'll see. If Georgia Tech's the team that we think they are, and I don't mean this negatively toward Tech, Virginia Tech, but they should come out and take care of Virginia Tech the way they're supposed to. If they don't, that's going to be back-to-back games, and then Georgia Tech all of a sudden, Hokies rock because they didn't plan ahead what to do if they got rid of him. Correct. So they hedge to have someone that knows what he's doing because he doesn't hire anyone under him that knows. He was smart. I've heard that a lot from different levels of supporter. I've heard that a lot. Not only, bad hires in football, but very questionable hires with staff. I've heard that from a lot of people. You think he was playing chess with the hires that he made in case it came down to him not succeeding in football? Now he's getting the reward. Is that what you're insinuating? Maybe. Look, it'd be different if we were talking about split sides here. It'd be different if we had like a split nation of Hokie fans, but we don't. We don't. And not just the interaction I get from our show here, but just people around. There's a lot of Tech people work at Radford. Not one person understands it. If I get one person who tries to defend all this, I will say, hey, can I use your name on the air? You're the only one. You deserve some credit. And again, none of this is personal against anybody. I don't know Whit Babcock. I'm just telling you how the whole thing looks and how it's being perceived and what has made sense at other places and how this is usually handled. We use Georgia Tech, the team they're playing on Saturday, as an example. I'm sure they're going to talk about that a lot during the broadcast. They listen to their customer, their fan base. They listen to their donor. They listen to common sense. I think that's what this comes down to. Remember the self-awareness hyphenated phrase that I say that whenever you see an athletic department that struggles with leadership or any business, it's because that leader doesn't have any self-awareness as to the decisions that he or she makes and how it affects everything else. You see it all the time. And then they try to scapegoat, point fingers elsewhere. You're just not supporting the program. Blah, blah. It's your fault for not being. No, this is on you. You're the one who's making the most money in the department. We're just reactionary to it. We're being honest about how we feel about it. There's nothing personal. It's just it hasn't worked. You think about it. What has been the highlight of Virginia Tech athletics the last 8 years? And let's even factor in the successes they had. Mike Young won the ACC tournament. Right? Surprisingly so. The women went to the freaking Final Four in basketball. The wrestling program is one of the elite programs in the country. Softball hosted a super regional. Baseball hosted a super regional. Soccer teams are good. I mean, you name it. Think of anyone over there and what they've contributed. Do any of those successes linger and identify Virginia Tech athletics more than the struggles the football programs had the last 8 years and how it can't find the apex again. It can't get to the top of Yosemite with the pickaxe and say, hey, we made it back to the top. Can't plant our flag because we can't quite get there. It's a long climb, and we don't know what kind of shoes to put on to climb those steep hills. What has endured more? Those seasons were all enjoyed within their vacuum of time. And I won't say they've been forgotten because I don't want to take away from the accomplishments of those coaches and players. But that's not what identifies this football program, this entire athletic program. It's a football school. More people are concerned about why football can't get right than they are going back and so excited. It looks like men's basketball is going to be really, really good. It's going to be really, really good. That's great. I love Mike Young to death. I knew his dad for years. Great family. I hope they have a great year. I hope he does a great job. He does do a great job. I hope they have a great year. It's not going to identify what this athletic department's about. There you go. Ryan Pry, the attorney who sponsors our fan question of the week. According to Tech fans who have used this argument against UVA for years, those other sports don't matter. True. And we heard that a lot. Virginia has taken their Olympic sports and won natties. Tech has never won a national championship. They've had good seasons. They never won a natty. Virginia posts natties in lots of different sports. Did that move and shake their department? No. Why is Carla Williams under a lot of heat? Because she hasn't been able to get football right. Maybe she has now. Maybe Tony Elliott just took him time to develop, just like a prospect. That's not the identifier of a football school. And when football has already been identified by everyone involved, the only thing that anybody can agree with throughout college athletics is that football is controlling everything. And I'm writing about it. I wrote about it tomorrow in the Patriot. College football is about to have a course correction. Bill alluded to it yesterday. Actually, I owe Bill credit for the article because he got me thinking. It's the most undervalued entity in televised streaming sports. That's going to course correct when this new TV deal hits. You're going to see almost NFL premium type of numbers coming out. And if you don't think the SEC and the Big Ten have already recognized this when they started their unofficial alliance, that's why they're so ahead of the curve. That's why they're already positioning for the playoff. That's why they're already positioning for the next boom of expansion that's coming. You don't think they're already having conversations? You don't think the network, you don't think ESPN, which is completely one of the most shadiest organizations in all of professional broadcasting, you don't think they're already talking to the SEC about who do you want to add to the footprint to maximize dollars from? Come on. That's why so many programs are doing everything they can now to resource football, to make it more and more attractive. Virginia Tech has a legacy, a unique legacy, thanks to Frank Beamer. They haven't had it for 8 years. Therefore, the gleam that Marty Schottenheimer used to always chase, the gleam has fallen off the program. That's why you don't hear their name come up. You don't hear it in the Big Ten SEC expansion. People say, well, then why UVA? That's more of a presidential thing. Their football program hasn't been good either. But I guess it's their academic reputation. I don't know. Their brand is deemed to be more, I guess you could say, attractive. I don't know. You'd have to talk to these leagues once you have this level of expansion, and there'll be explanations from all the commissioners as to why you really pursued a certain school. And I'll be curious to hear how that plays out. But there's going to be a course correction with the amount of money. The revenue is going to be unlike anything we've ever heard before when these new TV deals kick in. And the SEC and the Big Ten are once again ahead of the curve. Paul says, all Hokie sports, I feel like I'm Charlie Brown and Lucy is pulling the football away when I'm about to kick it. Morris says, we need an administration that positions Tech for 2030 and doesn't have Virginia Tech in the dust when the dust settles. Correct. And I think right now a lot of people are questioning what's going on because of the decisions that have and have not been made. That's all we're talking about. And we don't know any of the impetus behind that because nobody's being transparent about anything. Just what Andy's talked about. It's what David Teal's talked about. It's what Damian Sorlet's talked about. It's what everybody's talking about. Actions or lack of action speak louder than words. So there are no answers to be had. We don't have answers because none have been supplied. And this is what's added the fuel to the speculation and the frustration and what I get from all the folks on a daily basis. Look, and I'm just orating what I'm privy to. And I believe, and I tell you what, I really value what Tech fans have to say because you educate me. Maybe I value a lot more than the actual athletic department. You know how many times I hear, too, about people trying to call to ask about ticket information, about donation. I hear all the time. They don't get calls back. They don't get. So I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see how this all plays out. We'll see how the committee goes about hiring a coach. Does it become a circus? I hope not. Whereas I viewed the mutual interest in a guy like Ryan Silverfield as a positive thing, felt like people were immediately kicking back as, that's not a good thing. And I'm going to ask Dwight that question. I'm going to see what he has to say about it. That's right. Coach O'Mation. By the way, Coach O'Mation is going to be with us every Monday going forward. There will be 2 college football leagues, ESPN League and Fox League. Yes, there you go. The numbers that are going to come out, it's going to blow everybody's mind, by the way. Because college football ratings are up 23%. And this is 3 years ahead of the new TV deals. 23%. And how many times have I said it? And I think Coach would agree. The product on the field is outstanding here in the portal era. And it's taken me by surprise. I thought it would be the other way. You'd see maybe 4 or 5, 6 teams, a handful of teams, all from the SEC, maybe a couple from the Big Ten. That's not the way it is. It is really, really good. It's good football. And the portal and the competition, the money that's involved, the leveling off of it. The group of 5 level of football is good too because they're getting so many kids that didn't quite qualify to be given, basically a contract by the power schools. That's why it's more impressive what I see Ryan Silverfield doing at 6-0 Memphis than maybe his predecessor. But watch group of 5 football. You watch James Madison play football and tell me you don't think that's a good football team. Watch their games. Do you see much of a drop-off? No, you're not going to. If they hadn't made 3 god-awful mistakes at Louisville, they'd have a win against the Power 4 and an ACC team. Could be, Paul. Says, I've heard that UVA will get picked over Tech in the better leagues because of their ability to win natties. Could be. I'd like to hear the reasoning. I know there's a lot of presidential connections to UVA. and the academic piece, the Big Ten. That's why they've always been connected to the Big Ten. Those presidents still have a pretty high value of all that stuff, and rightfully so in this day and age where the academic side of things are not remotely, and I mean remotely, talked about anymore, because I guess people are real. It's, I guess there's still some of that should happen in college, right? So yeah. But these new TV deals, whew, and NBC and Notre Dame are going to continue to work together. People are going to say, is this going to force Notre Dame to finally join a conference? No. Because they're always going to be included. At least I don't foresee that ever happening. Why? Why would they need to? Why would they need to? Notre Dame is still bigger than the entity of college football. That brand is still the largest brand in college football, and it always will be. It is what it is. Imagine any other school, even Alabama, Texas, Ohio State. Imagine any other school being allowed to have a separate inclusion, your own category in the mega millions and billions dollar playoff, and not be part of one of the upper echelon conferences. You know what the biggest story of modern sports will be is if any of those leagues can ever announce that they finally coerced Notre Dame, and it'll be the SEC or the Big Ten. Can you imagine what that would cause? Whew. Now, I don't think it's going to happen, but can you imagine? That would be that commissioner who would walk up to the president. Imagine Greg Sankey, the next expansion. This is what he's been working on. You imagine him going through and talking about the schools they're going to add, blah, blah, blah. And then, oh, by the way, there's this school in Indiana that we're going to add. Can you imagine what that would do to – whew. Unbelievable. Is that the Thursday night game, Jimmy? East Carolina and Tulane? Okay. That's a good game. They're probably better than Eagles and Giants. That's not bad right there. Dwight Vick here in about, whenever Dwight jumps on, I just let him know that I sent him the invite, and we'll get his take. Yeah. October 9th could be interesting too. I've heard that quite a bit. Guess I could just say it now. What the heck? Yeah, let's do it. Because tomorrow's the 10th. Today's October 9th. I was told weeks ago, matter of fact, I was told the same day Brent Pry was fired that Whit Babcock would retire by October the 9th. And then, of course, we got the message last week that he's going to stay on when they announced the whole, restructuring in the committee. So things changed. The person who told me that has never been wrong about anything. He and his constituents were shocked. Let's just put it that way. On the professional door text line, Sands and Witt have put us on the same level as Oregon State with Oregon, or Washington and Washington State. And I don't know if UVA is going to maintain itself. We don't know that. They've been struggling. They've been terrible. Tech has dominated them. UVA is going to have to prove it long term But I know how much it hurts Tech this year, Tech fans. I know how much it hurts. I do. To see UVA having the season they are. And seemingly they're going into fourth-year coach, turning things around when he finally had NIL money and he made good evaluations. Another message on the text line. I sent Virginia Tech an email after the Bill Roth interview last week saying I wasn't giving them any more money. It's the same people running things and got no response. Not surprised, though. I hear that a lot. I hear people don't get responses. Very true. Very true. The Stanford situation took a big turn last weekend when Andrew Luck got up. And did they announce the name? I don't know if they announced the name or not. They've got a $50 million one-time donation. A $50 million immediate donation into their football-specific program. They don't have to jump through any hoops. It's all going to go for football. Former player at Stanford. Who could that be? I'm sure he's been very successful using his Stanford multiple degrees in other areas of business and so forth. Don't think it was John Elway. I would have heard about that being a Broncos fan. $50 million infused right into that program, specifically for the NIL. Oh, they did say his name? Well, let me look it up. Okay, looked it up. Can you imagine what the response would be if Virginia Tech got that kind of information? From, who donated the $50 million? Oh, here we go. Good call, Hokie Rock. Brandon Freeman, a former Stanford football player, an immensely successful Wall Street investor, told you, donated $50 million to the program in October. The gift is intended to help the program recruit top talent. NIL money. Any facility upgrades can be used to it, however Andrew Luck wants. The quote from Freeman is, I want to herald a new era of excellence for the team. Largest donation that the program has ever received. I can't imagine too many programs ever receiving such a large donation. He graduated in 1964. Wow. $50 million. People say, there's that son again. How can people donate $50 million? Well, it says here that he's worth about $40 billion. That's how you can donate $50 million. Boy, that'd be a tough way to go, wouldn't it? Well, I got $40 billion. Let's see. How much can I give Andrew? Let's just give him. I gotta have to move here. How about we just give him I don't know. Let's just give him $50 million. Does that sound good? Hey, Bob, write that check. I'm assuming his assistant's name is Bob. All right, I'm going to move around here and see if I can block that sun a little bit. I know. I'm going to put it up. I got a shade over here. I didn't have time to put it up. I won't be able to put it up till after the end of the week. Dwight Vick joins us here momentarily. $50 million. There we go. That's still not great, but it's better. Yeah, sun's coming right through there. There we go. When Dwight jumps on, he'll think he's talking to an angel because of the bright light that's surrounding me. Right? Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah. I mean, Louisville did gift Virginia that game, but again, they found a way to win it. The defense made plays. No doubt. Seems like a weak donation when you say it like that. $50 million. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Be great. Joining us now on the program, he's worth $50 million in my mind. It's Dwight Vick. What's up, brother? Good morning.
What's up? Can you hear me?
I can. I'm trying to stay out of the sun that's brighting through here, but we're good. We're good. You can see me a little bit. How are you, man?
I'm great, man. Yeah, I appreciate the $50 million worth. I wish, man. Yeah, I mean, that'd be nice, man. I got a few bills I need to pay. But the sun's shining on you, man. That means God loves you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, see, exactly.
I mean, God loves you. Yeah. What's going on?
I got a shade I'm going to put up over the weekend. I didn't quite get to it today, but I want to ask you about a lot of things.
Hold on, Rick.
Yeah.
Let me just say this.
Yeah.
The other day, I try to have your show on most of the time while I'm working out, listening, or if I'm just doing some stuff in the morning, getting ready for the day. And I want to say, man, great. I hope you keep him on. Phil Almation. Phil Almation, I was at Tech with him 1 year, but he knew me and he talked to me in high school because he's been everywhere, and he used to recruit my high school at Hampton High School from another legend in Mike Smith. So Phil Almation doesn't get enough credit. I shout him out sometimes on Twitter, when it comes to who kind of gave Foster the green light. Foster took what he learned from Coach Almation and made it even more successful. The 8-man front back in the 90s that became legendary, the Bear front with Virginia Tech. But kind of like what the Bears did with that 4-6 defense. But Phil Almation is one of the smartest men I know when it comes to sports and life. He's a brilliant man. I was just happy to see him on your show.
Well, I was very fortunate. He reached out to me. He found the show randomly on YouTube and started watching it and realized, hey, wait a minute, they're local. So, and he called. He's like, I said, Coach, I'd love to have you. So he's going to be on every Monday going forward.
Oh, man. Yeah. And he's right. He was breaking it down about evaluating. I'm so glad he talked about Bill Walsh. And I've often said the combine is one of the most overrated things you will see with the NFL.
You have.
I'm not minimizing athleticism and evaluation. I'm saying the interviews are probably more important than all that stuff, running around with no pads and throwing passes and 40 times when you got players with 3 to 5 years worth of tape. I don't know what you need to see again. It's just weird. The NFL makes billions, but some of the stuff they do is just weird. But hey, it is what it is. But that guy, man, he's right about evaluation. I always said, man, evaluation is essential in really knowing what you're getting and understanding who you are as a team when you have players you're getting that fit your scheme.
Well, and I love what he said too about, no, you never watch highlights. That's pointless. Watch a game. Watch that player during the course of a game. Highlights aren't going to teach you anything. They're made to make the player look good, right? Watch how they act during the game and the impact they have and how they react to things in the game. And that's how he went through all his evaluations. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah. Great guy. Great mind. Love that guy, man.
Well, I got to get your take because, DV, I haven't gotten one positive response from anybody in Hokie land. And I talked to a lot of different people and hear about them that understand what's going on with the structure that's remaining in place. I wanted to get your take. First of all, on the committee, it's very large. There's a lot of non-football people on it. There are some people on there that's very good. Bruce Arians, and I think having Bud and Eddie Royal makes a lot of sense. But with that and with the constant thing with Witt just hanging over a program that he's not going to be – people are just angry. People, and these are people they need as customers to try to reach those new financial goals. What's your take on all that as you watch this?
I saw Tech Sideline release the interview with David Till. I listened to that yesterday. I listened to Billy Ray Mitchell. I was up earlier this morning, couldn't sleep. And I listened to Billy Ray Mitchell from Sons of Saturday talk about the back and forth between the fan base and the administrators regarding like who's really pulling the strings. I don't know. The committee thing is kind of corny to me. I get it. I think sometimes, man, this is one of the few reasons why I do love being a business owner and entrepreneur is when I used to work in corporate America for other people, we would have meetings after meetings
Oh,
and committees and meetings to meet about another issue that we could have discussed in the meeting that we're already in. And
exactly.
I've never liked a lot of committees, never liked 9 people in the room because we waste more time voting and talking. It's just, I'm not going to say a waste of time because I definitely think Bruce Arians, out of everybody, knows what Tech needs. And I definitely know Foster knows. I love both those guys, especially Coach. I know him personally. Eddie is my guy. Eddie's the guy that understands. He had a great interview with a guy I've forgotten about, man, Jim Rome. He was on the Jim
Yeah,
Rome. I didn't even know Jim Rome had a show anymore.
I know. He got in
Um,
some trouble or something. Yeah, he
yeah, he
disappeared for a
did.
while.
Well,
Yeah.
that was a long time coming, but
Yeah.
Eddie, Eddie,
Yeah.
Eddie, Eddie kind of broke down the perfect coach. And it wasn't about in the shadows of Beamer, but the other people involved, man, it's not because they didn't play. I just don't know if you need that many people. I don't know, man. To me, I'm gonna say this, and I almost tweeted this yesterday. I'm gonna say this for you and your audience right
Yeah.
now. I am burnt out being a Tech fan, and I'm gonna tell you why. I really am over waking up or checking on Twitter and Instagram, especially on Twitter, because I'm on there the most, and seeing all this stuff that is about non-football stuff. I wish we were talking more, not me and you, but I
Yeah.
wish it was more breakdown about the matchup against Georgia Tech, or I'm jealous of the fact that UVA and Miami and Louisville and Georgia Tech are talking about football, X's and O's, and just my nephew is a 3-star recruit with 16 offers at Bethel High School in Hampton, Virginia, and I was talking to him last night. And Tony Elliott's coming out to Darling Stadium tonight to watch him play. They moved in on him. I mean, he's a junior, but still, it's just none of that talk is circulating around Virginia Tech. Everything's,
Yeah.
about Bill McAfee and all the other stuff and, trends and game day clips of we're going to get this money. I mean, that stuff is needed. And I guess this is the process of redefining and building your program, but it's just not my thing. I'm annoyed by it because we are so irrelevant. We are focusing more on committees and Whit Babcock. When you have a great AD, when you don't talk about them.
100%. Yeah.
UVA is having arguably their best season in decades. Like they're on track. It's still some football left to be played, but they're having their best season really since Bryce Perkins was there when they won the Coastal Division, right?
Yeah.
And you don't hear anything about Carla, their AD.
Not now.
You,
Not
you
now.
don't. You
Yep.
don't. Yeah. So I'm not taking shots at Witt. It's just that Whit Babcock didn't have 9,000 penalties the other day against Wake Forest. Whit Babcock didn't mismanage the clock. Whit Babcock, I'd rather hear about him and the committee coming up with a coach, or there's some interviews going on. I know there's some conversation behind closed doors, but I speak for a lot of fans when I say this is just not overwhelming, but underwhelming. It's just
That's a good word
sometimes
for it.
I think,
Yeah.
all these people make all this money and all these suits, and they just complicate things. I mean, I think me, you, and a couple of your longtime listeners can be a committee and find a coach. I really do. And now I really do. Now we don't have the money to offer
No,
them,
we
but
don't.
I'm
We don't.
saying, like, I don't know. And and here's the question I've asked Rick. And again, I know there's going to be a lot of movement between now and late November, but I don't know, and I'm on the same platforms you are. Who are your strongest candidates? Who, you hear about Shane, and I that gauntlet that they have coming up is they are up against it.
They are up against it. Yeah. They are.
So is Shane a candidate? I don't know. I almost wish we didn't even know. I would play it close to the vest if I was running things and just have it that people think Witt's making the hire and the committee be unknown. And
Yeah.
then we
Yeah.
find out later that the committee was in place. So
Dwight Vick joining us on the program, the founder of Victory Life, all conference performer at Virginia Tech. Well, along those lines, you mentioned evaluation. Coach O'Mation talked about it and how huge that's going to be. The first name from a coaching source that I have, and again, this doesn't mean they're candidates. It just means there's mutual interest, is Ryan Silverfeld at Memphis. I know. Memphis. He's 6-0. He's a different type of coach, different type of person as Justin Fuente. And it doesn't mean that he's a candidate. It just means that his agent approached and it was reciprocated. I'm guessing by maybe Bruce or maybe. So this is a guy that I think deserves to be talked to. You look at his record at Memphis. He's been there a while. He's outstanding. They're a group of 5 team. They always play power teams very, very well. You've got to spread a wide net. And just because you hear one name, it doesn't mean that's who they're focused on, right? And I know Memphis connection, but I think it's going to be a lot of names like that we're going to hear. And I think this committee, because Arians is there, I think you're going to see all sorts of guys vetted and talked to in the initial stages, because they don't become candidates till they make it to campus, right? That's when they're a candidate.
I saw his name. I think Text Online did a little feature. They're doing like a weekly feature on candidates they believe should be part of the pool of coaches that could be hired at Virginia Tech. I mean, for the record, when Fuente was hired, I said this. He was a great hire because a lot of people were after him. He got Braxton Lynch, a first-round grade and draft pick.
Right.
He won some games. He won a game at Ole Miss. I believe it was Ole Miss, the SEC team. His offenses were known to really be efficient, up-tempo, scored a lot of points. He built it from the mud at Memphis and did a great job, made Memphis relevant where coaches have come in. So the first few years of the Fuente experience were great for Virginia Tech. And then, stuff started getting leaked, SI article. I mean, that guy that you're talking about shouldn't have to pay for the sins of Justin Fuente.
Correct.
I think the fan base has made it up in their mind, not all the fan base, but there's a contingency of fans that want a name. And I think the problem with a name is you look at Bill Belichick when I knew, and I don't know why UNC did that. And I'm a huge Tom Brady fan, not a Patriot fan. And I was probably, for the 20 plus years Tom played in New England, up front and close, I watched Bill Belichick make great decisions, and not a big fan of the media, but I felt like, you got to put him in a category as with the Bill Washers and Joe Gibbs and all those guys. He's one of the GOATs, right? Saban and all those guys. But I feel like this is a young man's game when it comes to coaching. NIL, I feel like you saw my tweets yesterday. I feel like every year your favorite college football and basketball team are going to look different every year now.
Every year.
I have learned and come to understand that that's the way it goes. And I just feel like Bill Belichick is like an outdated, system. It doesn't work anymore. That does not work for your iPhone. That code is outdated.
No. That's right.
So with the guy from Memphis, I did read up on him. He's a good coach, and your guy, my friend Brian from Boundary Corner, played for him. So he knows him.
Really?
Yeah, he tweeted how he was a great candidate and a great coach and a great man.
There we go.
I'll say this from an X's and O's standpoint as a former player. When I watched Virginia Tech wet the bed against Wake Forest, when I saw us against South Carolina, when I see us refuse to run the football, when the running game is there and we pass, when we blunder personal fouls and penalties, that even though Wake Forest had more penalties, Virginia Tech's penalties were egregious, and the timely of them were the worst possible time. That extended drives that led to scores. When you look at roster management, going back to the Fuente era where guys were in the portal at halftime, I feel like the last two coaches both, understand what should be done, but the execution of what needed to be done wasn't great. And I feel like we just need a very good coach. If his name is Burton Ernie, then that's so
it doesn't matter. Right.
It doesn't. I mean, at this point, I am tired of watching Virginia Tech give away games. It's like Me, Myself, and Irene, the movie with Jim Carrey. You know, when he didn't take his meds and he turned into a psychopath. Like
Right, right.
and then he would be fine and he would go back to the other ego. It's like, who are you guys? What are you doing? Stop playing with my emotions. I don't understand how y'all can look so tough, mentally prepared, and execute against NC State. And at home,
I know. At home.
but and again, a lot of pressure comes on drones, and I get it. I'm not debating or defending drones. But go back to my football aficionados and look at how the offensive line continues to miss and blitz pickup. We don't pick up blitzes. I mean, I'm an offensive line guy, obviously, and I look at the offensive line. It's not just drones refusing to stand in the pocket. It's like pass protection. These are not athletic offensive linemen. So your scheme you're running doesn't fit the personnel you have in there. I want you guys who are listening to me and watching me right now to go look at Miami's offensive line and some of the better teams in the ACC, and you'll see exactly what I mean compared to what we have. There's a lot of blame to go around, and Wake Forest was trying to give you that game. So for me, going back to your question about the coaching search and the guy from Memphis and other guys like him, man, if he can just put a product on the field that understands the assignment and can execute and put us in position to win, I'm for it. That's why I said I'm burnt out, man. Like, it's like
I know.
not almost. Looking back, I think you had a guest on that said this. I'm sorry I can't give him credit, but this is where Witt and everybody messed up. And again, it would have been somewhat prematurely, but this is, correct me if I'm wrong, this was Pryde's 4th year, right?
Correct. Yes.
So in your 3-year sample size, and the grumblings were there based on how they underachieved last year.
Right.
You should have probably made this decision before the spring. You should have made the decision and after the bowl game fiasco against Minnesota. Because even though I didn't think you should regarding as an alumni and fan, I wanted Pride to do well the same way I wanted Fuente to do well. But you knew going into the season that he was on the hot seat, the same way the coach at Maryland is on one or was on one, the same way Tony Elliott was on one. So there was whatever publication you read or whatever show you listen to like this one, everybody knew there were about 14 coaches that came into the season on the hot seat. Many publications I checked for had Pride number 1 or number 2 on that list.
They did. They did.
So if you Witt and you part of the, the administration, you know that. You know he's got to win this year. And that South Carolina game you and I previewed, I said this is a must-win game because you have a chance to get a signature win.
That's right.
This is how important signature wins are. Tony Elliott just extending his career by 1 season by beating Florida State with a chance to play for the ACC. Now, at the same time, this is how crazy college sports are right now. UNC's releasing statements about Bill Belichick, and if UVA somehow has bad losses against Cal, Duke, and Virginia Tech, those same people that are praising him will switch up, and then again, he might be out of there. This is why I said Virginia Tech, to me, needs some stability. They need some leadership. For the longtime listeners and fans of Virginia Tech football, they know what I mean. In 1987, when Beamer came, he didn't come in guns blazing. He wasn't an immediate hit, but he brought some stability to a program that had just been placed on probation for NCAA violations done by Dooley. So you needed somebody to come in and create a recruiting ground, some stability, and make sure that the program had direction. And even then, the legend, the icon, Frank Beamer, was on the hot seat. And Dave Brain told him, you got to fire somebody because you about to get out of here.
Right.
and Beamer made some tough choices.
He did.
I feel like Pride again, we're moving forward now, but I feel like Pride, that loyalty, man, it really cost him. And his deficiencies in evaluating who should be on the roster as far as starting. You look at guys like Caleb Spencer and the kid Noah, the linebacker from DeMatha. These are two linebackers that have come in and had an immediate impact on the defense. And it's almost like, why weren't you using Caleb Spencer more? Why didn't you trust Caleb Spencer when Caleb Woodson had his incident going into the season? I understand why he played Woodson. I was fine with that. What I'm saying is, if you recruit guys to your program and you trust that they're talented, why aren't you using them? Why didn't you have a package for Pop Watson in the red zone? Virginia Tech, even going back to last year, underachieved in the red zone. And I kept saying, create a package for Pop in the red zone. A lot of teams that win games have packages for certain players. I have yet to see Virginia Tech do anything with their running backs except the traditional handoff out of gun formation. So, like, for example, UVA won a great game in overtime where they had 2 defensive touchdowns. By any means necessary, they won that game. And in the game-winning touchdown in overtime, they hiked the ball to the running back, the old New England play when the guy goes like this and the running back catches it and runs in. Innovation on offense. Again, these guys make so much money, but I would rather get a kid playing with Legos to call the plays. Because at least the kid playing with Legos has creativity.
He has to create. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Well, what you said about leadership, and two aspects of it. When Brent Pry was hired, he was allowed to bring in 2 inexperienced coordinators. That should have never happened. The AD should have said, look, I'm giving you a chance. Be my head coach. You have to be successful or I'm not going to be successful. We need you to get somebody who's kind of done this, get them in there, like a Phil Omation, whoever it might be. I'm just using an example. But then you have said this. You said this last year on the radio. You said it again this year. Coach Omation just said that. Great minds think alike. He said, when guys are playing, and I think about this all the time, you made me start thinking about this last year. When guys are playing that shouldn't be playing, the locker room immediately turns off the coaches and says, what are we doing here? That guy shouldn't. What are we doing? He's getting a chance because he has a relationship. He's not. Coach, listen to us. We know who should be playing. And I thought about that ever since, and I think that has evolved in all the wrong directions for Tech.
Boom. That's the point of the day. You need to add that to your show. The point of the day. That is Rick. Shout out to you. That was a great
Well,
point.
it was you and Coach. I was just
I'm just saying, well, yeah, because I know that. I know people like, we love you, Dwight Vick. You played, 30. Yeah, I did, but I still know the game. I mean, everybody that plays sports, whether it's JV high school, volleyball, everybody knows who should be in the rotation. The players know best. They knew. I give Frank Beamer credit one time, man. It kind of cost him. He burned Tyrod's red shirt that year. The plan was to have him red shirt, and then the following year, I think Virginia Tech probably plays for a national championship, or at least in 2 years after that, because you have Tyrod for 2 more years. But everybody was like, man, Tyrod is too good to be sitting there behind Glennon. And Glennon was a winner, and I think Glennon was a good quarterback, and he won some games. But Tyrod was a 5-star dual threat that brought a different dynamic.
It's different
against a national championship LSU team down in LSU in Baton Rouge. Virginia Tech was getting destroyed. They lost that game 44-7. The only touchdown was Tyrod when he came in late, and everybody was like, "Oh, this is before the new red shirt rule." Everybody was like, "Well, there goes Tyrod's red shirt," and the announcers were even surprised. I believe it was a Brent Musburger game, and Tyrod dropped as a true freshman. I know the second stringers were in, but second stringers at LSU that year were probably first stringers at most schools.
Yeah.
And Tyrod led them down the field and scored on a quarterback sneak. I mean, I'm talking about runs and throws. And I said, oh, well, who's your starter? But Beamer was like, I'm going to still go with Glennon, but Tyrod will play. Not many of us are fans of the 2-quarterback system, but Beamer had a feel for the team. I'll give you another game Beamer had a feel for the team and for what was going on. Another dynamic 4-star quarterback, my cousin, Marcus Vick, is there behind a first-class and legendary quarterback, Brian Randall. Brian was still struggling in the shadows of Michael Vick. Him and Grant Knoll really could never shake that. And then finally, Marcus comes in with all this hype, and Marcus was good. And him and Brian Randall had a great relationship. Against Miami Hurricanes on a national televised game, Saturday night, Miami has won 35 straight games, and they're the defending national champions. They got household names all over the field. So did Virginia Tech with D'Angelo Hall and company, Jay Grove. And Miami's got Winslow, Sean Taylor, and the offense is sputtering. Kevin Jones, they're keying on him. They bring Marcus in the game. All of a sudden, Eric Green, pick six, to receive the DBs, picks, interceptions. Marcus throws the one touchdown pass over Sean Taylor to Ernest Wilford. He benched Brian Randall on national TV. Now, Brian Randall came back and won the ACC that following year.
Right.
But do you get my point about having a
Yes.
feel for the game
Right.
and making a tough decision that's the best for the team, not because of NIL or I'm friends with this guy's mom? That's
right.
what that's called coaching.
Yes. Yeah.
Money
I know.
should never change that. Money
It
should
shouldn't.
never change that. You have to coach. I don't care if you're mad at me during the game. This kid needs to play. And that goes back to what Almation said and what I said. And you look, I know a lot of people want Drone's bench right now. I'm not sure Pop is going to elevate the team, but my
Yeah, he
thing
won't.
is
But
Pop having a package in the Reds, and I'm also going back to last season. You played him when Drones got hurt, and everybody knew Drones was injured long before that game. So it's disappointing because here's how close it is between winning and losing. Last year, Virginia Tech lost either 5 or 6 one-score games. You win 3 of them, you got 9 wins last year. And prior year, you're losing to South Carolina, what seemed like for hours, 10-8 in the opening game.
yeah, it
in
did.
Atlanta.
It did.
If you scored 2 of those touchdowns, you beat Shane. I don't know if you beat Vanderbilt, but I think you beat ODU. Now we're talking about a much different Virginia Tech team. That's the fine line between winning and losing. No different from Frank Beamer's 2-8-1 season when they lost 6 one-score games. Many of those games they lost the lead. So again, it's a fine line. But this is going to be a word you're going to hear me say until I die, especially this season, is accountability.
Accountability.
And
Yeah.
I feel like if Wick could do anything, if he learns like you and I learn from everything we do in life,
Yeah.
if Wick's going to be around here, I would pray and hope as a man, not just a professional, he understands whoever comes in, him and the GM have to hold each other, themselves, and the coaches accountable.
Well said. Accountability and self-awareness, man.
Yeah.
2 successes in life. You teach life every day, right? You got to have both. Got to have both.
Because Rick, there is no reset button.
That's
and
right.
I feel for these players. I know they're getting paid, and I know they got jewelry hanging from their neck, and they got these Hellcats and $90,000 cars. I know all about it. Yeah. I just don't think they understand. You look behind me on my banner, leave a legacy. I just don't think they understand that nobody remembers losers. Like you and I have never texted and tweeted or had a phone call about the 3-8 team prior first year.
No.
We don't. And in my career, the only season I never really reflect on is the 97 season when North Carolina destroyed us in the Gator Bowl 42-3. That only comes up because we talk about how great that Carolina team. What I talk about is the other games when we beat Alabama and we beat Clemson at Clemson and we beat Miami 4 straight years when I was there. We don't talk about losers. And I don't think some of these guys understand the importance of legacy. And I wonder if some of these coaches coaching now understand legacy. I think money, and I get a lot of tweets from fans, and I get it. I really do get it now. I'll raise my hand. This is therapy for me right now. I understand now why some of your listeners and fans say money has ruined the game. It really has. It really, even though we're going to watch Virginia Tech basketball, Radford basketball this year, we're going to watch the rest of this season because we love competition. It has ruined the game. For the first time, my wife said, "How do you not know everybody on the team?" I said, I can't keep up.
I know.
I don't know these guys anymore unless I knew them from high school. And that's the disappointing part, Rick. But I'll be glued into Georgia Tech this weekend. I think they're favored by 20 or 18. I don't know. It keeps going up. But then again, Georgia Tech has a history of losing to unranked teams.
They do.
They have a bad history. And knowing Virginia Tech, I wouldn't be surprised if they come out and play hard. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if they won. I wouldn't.
You really wouldn't. You really wouldn't. The way it's gone this year, I feel the same way. I feel the same way.
Yeah. But thank you. Thank you for letting me come on here and share my thoughts, man.
Nah, always, brother. Wouldn't want to do the show without you ever. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And people love you being on. So thank you. That was great.
Appreciate you.
I hope you have a great week. Enjoy the game. Maybe we'll be talking this weekend. Who knows? Maybe we'll be talking good things if something happens, right?
Hopefully. I'd much rather talk about that than, I don't know, budgets and flow charts. But
I understand. Yeah, we can break down how they won or how they kept it close, right?
Yeah. All right, Rick, you guys take care.
Davey. Thanks, brother. You too, man. Great stuff. There you go. The great Dwight Vick. And I agree with the sentiment. Why is Dwight not on the committee? Well, he doesn't like committee. He wouldn't want to be. All right. Want to thank Family Fencing again for sponsoring our studios. 540-200-8294. Give Jason Green a call. Mark Hundley, everybody at McClelland Chiropractic. The chat room bus. I love the chat room and the text line are so much fun. Thank you so much for contributing. And thanks to Professional Door Incorporated, Residential Commercial Garage Doors for sponsoring our text line. Go see Travis up there. 38 years in business right across from New River Community College, National Bank member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner of BDST. They've been there for 35 years. Ryan Pry, the attorney down in Radford, our BDST fan question of the week. It's changed a little bit. People before, nobody thought they were going to cover the spread. Now a lot of people are saying they might. Little River Heating and Air, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg. It was 43 degrees this morning. Time to get the heat checked out. Pulaski County Sports Entertainment, the presenting sponsor of this program. So happy to be able to say that every day. We talk about all the great stuff. New newsletter coming out soon. We're going to get you updated on even more things going on there. Thanks to Harvey's GM in Radford. Go get your vehicle there today. We want to thank Super Bowl, NRV Super Bowl. Again, their star this past week, Todd Jones. He bowled a 300 at 299. 382-5525. Reserve your boogie bowling spot. And thanks to Lawson's Mobile Home Supply. Since 1997, James has been doing it better than anybody else. Windows, doors, and plumbing supplies. Thank you. Thanks to all of our guests. Andy Bitter, Dwight Vick. Tomorrow we'll have Will Stewart from Tech Sideline. Mike Ashley. Another open mic session from Mike on Hall of Fame Friday. And then Jen the Gamecock Girl with our picks. Hope your day goes great. Please, as always, share, like, subscribe. Remember, it's free. If one of you gets somebody that's already subscribed, we're on our way to 600. We'll get to 1,000 just like that. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow to wrap up the week on the Finally Friday edition.